Welcome to the third video brought by the Dutaya Catholic channel.
This video testifies to the miracles that took place due to the Holy Rosary as mentioned at the end of the previous video. The Holy Rosary, which holds a special place among Catholics, is the innumerable miracles that have taken place throughout history. The intervention of the Virgin Mary is attributed to the Rosary, affirming the importance of the Rosary in the Catholic faith. Know all these facts without a word. I invite you to stay, as usual, until the last second of this unique video. The Battle of Lepanto on October 7, 1507 is one of the most important naval battles. It marked a milestone in the struggle between Christian Europe and the Ottoman Empire. The Holy Rosary is believed to have played a crucial role in victory. The Ottoman Empire in the 16th century was a powerful force, rapidly expanding its territories throughout Europe, Asia, and Africa. The Mediterranean Sea, which was crucial for trade and military movements, became a competitive space. The Ottomans sought to dominate the Mediterranean Sea and to the Christian kingdoms of Europe. Spain and Venice, especially the region's major powers, were threatened. Pope Pius V identified the threats made by the Ottomans. Attempts were made to establish a summary of Christian forces to defend Europe. This led to the formation of an alliance between the Holy League, Spain, Venice, the Pope, and other small European powers. Joint force of the Holy League commanded by Don Juan of Austria. He set out to face the Ottoman force led by Ali Pasha. The two ships were found in the Gulf of Patras, near Lepanto, now New Pactos, in Greece. The Christian force consisted of 212 gallons and 6 galleys, large, heavily armed ships. The Ottoman battalion had about 278 galley and other vessels. The battle was fierce, and both sides were severely damaged. Although the number was exceeded, the net League force had several advantages. The winds also benefited Christians, including firepower and the innovative use of galleys, which act as floating forts. Some saw it as a divine intervention. After a few hours of fierce fighting, the Holy League won. The Ottoman brigade was destroyed, capturing or sinking about 200 of their ships and killing or capturing more than 20,000 people. Christian losses were significant, but relatively low. The victory of Lepanto often led to the intervention of the Virgin Mary and the power of the Holy Rosary. Pope Pius V of Dominican V, who had a deep devotion to the Rosary. The whole of Europe called on the Rosary to pray for the success of the Christian force. On the day of the battle, the Pope held a rosary procession in Rome and was filled with people praying for victory of the churches throughout Europe. According to tradition, Pope Pius V was praying to the Vatican in the Vatican. Given a miraculous view of victory, he stood up and said, "Christian battalion wins." It is said that, before coming to Rome, any official news of that battle. Thanks to this victory on Pope Pius V on October 7th, the Feast of Our Lady of Victory was announced. It was later renamed the Feast of Our Lady of the Rosary. In honor of the help of the Virgin Mary in battle, he also added the title, Christian Help, to Litany in Loreto. Lepanto's victory was seen as a turning point in the defense of Christian Europe against the Ottoman Empire. The Holy Rosary was honored to play a crucial role. The victory of Lepanto and its connection with the Rosary confirmed the importance of the Rosary in Catholic devotion. The Rosary was a powerful symbol of Christian unity and a weapon of spiritual warfare. Battle of Lepanto is not only a significant military event, but is also a profound example of the power of faith and prayer in the Catholic tradition. This victory is celebrated as a victory over the forces that sought to destroy Christianity. Rosary is honored as a powerful means of seeking divine help. To this day, the Feast of Our Lady of the Rosary on October 7th. This serves as a reminder of this historical event and the lasting belief in the power of the Rosary. This report is one of the most tragic moments in modern history. In the final stages of World War II on August 6, 1945, the United States dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan. This bomb, called Little Boy, wreaked havoc. This explosion erased everything within a radius of 1.5 miles. As a result, by the end of 1945, 140,000 were estimated to have died. In the midst of this destruction, an unusual event took place and was later known as the Miracle of Hiroshima. There was a humble Jesuit house about 8 blocks, approximately 1 kilometer from the center of the blast. Inside were 8 German Jesuit priests who lived and worked as missionaries in Japan. Despite the incredible destruction around them, these priests survived the explosion, not only in the beginning, but in a few years later, without the long-term effects of radiation. Priests attributed their miraculous survival to a single, powerful reason. They recite their devotion to the Blessed Mary and the daily recitation of the Holy Rosary. The leader of this group, Father Hubert Schiffer, later explained that they were living in a message from Fatima, a marine ghost that took place in 1977. The Virgin Mary called on the people to pray the Rosary for peace and security. Father Schiffer was 30 years old at the time of the bombing. Though on the ground, he survived without significant injuries. He and other priests lived in good health for many years. When examined by American doctors and scientists, none of them were found to have suffered from the severe radiation disease that had plagued the other survivors. Experts were confused. There was no scientific explanation for their existence. The priests believed that their preservatives were the result of divine intervention because of their faithful prayers. In the years after the bombing, Father Schiffer traveled with other priests and talked about their experiences. Father Schiffer, in particular, spoke through the Rosary about attributing the protection of the Blessed Virgin Mary to their existence. He often shared this story in his lectures and at religious conferences, emphasizing the importance of prayer and devotion. Why these priests to the scientific community survived the atomic explosion, and then without severe injuries. Although indescribable, for believers, this event exists as evidence of the power of faith and the intervention of the Virgin Mary. The existence of these priests is often considered a sign of hope, is considered a call to deep prayer, especially through the Rosary, demonstrates the ability of divine intervention and the power of prayer even in the most catastrophic situations. For those who believe, an extraordinary protection and hope for faith in unimaginable adventures is a clear sign that can be caused. The miracle of the Holy Rosary in Austria during World War II, often after the war, connects with the events that led to the peaceful withdrawal of Soviet troops from Austria in 1955. This event is considered by many Catholics to be a powerful example of the effectiveness of collective prayer, especially the Rosary. After World War II, Austria was captured by Allied powers, including the Soviet Union. The country is divided into regions controlled by the United States, the United Kingdom, France, and the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union, that ruled the eastern part of Austria, was reluctant to give up his grip on the country in particular. As the Cold War intensified, the fate of becoming another Eastern European satellite under communist rule. It is unlikely that Austria will regain its full sovereignty without endurance. In the midst of this stressful political climate, the Austrian priest Petrus Palisek began to promote a business for the Rosary. In 1947, Father Pavlicek started a business called Rosary Crusade of Reparation Rosenkranz Schneekruise, prayers to bring a miracle to liberate Austria from the Soviet invasion. He was deeply convinced that the Rosary in particular could. He encouraged the Austrians to pray for the Rosary daily by asking for the intervention of the Blessed Mary. 1955, after years of negotiations, the Soviet Union unexpectedly agreed to withdraw its troops from Austria. On May 15, 1955, the Austrian State Treaty was signed on May 15, 1955, officially restoring Austria's sovereignty and neutrality. The Austrian State Treaty was signed. This peaceful withdrawal was seen by many as a miracle. This event is often referred to in Catholic circles as the Miracle of the Rosary or the Austrian Miracle.
Translated by Claude Newman.
Claude Newman, an African man of African origin, born in 1923 in Arkansas. At the age of 19, he was convicted of murder at the Mississippi prison. The story begins when Claude Newman was in prison, related to the Virgin Mary, who was thrown out by another prisoner. With the encounter of a miraculous medal, Claude picked up the medal and wore it around his neck without fully understanding its importance. That night, Claude experienced a vision of the Virgin Mary, and he appeared in a bright light. Deeply sympathetic to this experience, Claude, although not much knowledge about religion, expressed a desire to learn about Catholicism. He sought advice from priest Robert Alliar, who began to teach several other prisoners about the Catholic faith. Claude's transformation had a profound effect not only on him, but also on those around him. His fellow inmates, at first suspicious, began to see a change in Claude. Father Oliori, seeing Claude's transformation and the impact it had on others, was deeply saddened by himself, and believed that Claude had been chosen by God for a special purpose. It is reported that the Virgin Mary appeared to him several times during Claude's imprisonment. When the time came, she assured him that she would go with him and not be afraid. Claude Newman was assassinated on February 4, 1944. His story, however, did not end with his death. It has since become a strong testimony to the transformative power of the faith and the intervention of the Virgin Mary. Born in Ireland in 1909, Father Peyton moved to the United States in 1928 for a religious career. He was ordained a priest in 1937 and began his mission to spread devotion to the Rosary. However, in the early 1940s, Father Peyton faced a serious health crisis. He was diagnosed with tuberculosis, a severe and often deadly disease that affects the lungs. In 1947, the doctors informed him that his term was over and that he had only a few months to live. Father Peyton, who had deep faith and devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary, at this time, turned to the Rosary as a source of hope and consolation. He prayed fervently for divine intervention. Miraculously, his health turned for the better. This healing was confirmed by his doctors, and he was amazed at the change in his condition. Encouraged by this miraculous healing, Father Peyton devoted the rest of his life to his mission. The Rosary was talking and organizing events to encourage families to pray together. His efforts led to a family rosary crusade that had a significant impact on Catholic life around the world. He passed away in 1992, but has an unwavering belief in the miraculous power of prayer. 1917, in a small village called Fatima in Portugal, Lucia dos Santos and her cousin Francisco and Jacinta Merco, 3 young shepherds, reported a series of unusual events that could affect millions of people around the world. The visions of Our Lady are the most famous of the Catholic Church. The first vision of the Virgin Mary was on May 13, 1917, while several children in Cova da area were caring for the sheep. A beautiful woman, brighter than the sun, stood on a small oak tree and appeared to them. She asked the children to come to the place on the 13th of each month for the next 6 months. She asked them to pray the Rosary every day to bring peace to the world and to end World War I. In the second scene, Our Lady revealed to the children that Francisco and Jacinta would soon go to heaven, but Lucia would remain on earth for a while, and that God would like to use her to instill devotion to Mary's pure heart. At the end of each rosary class, ask the children to add this prayer: "Please, my Jesus, forgive us our sins, save us from the fire of hell, and take all souls to heaven, especially those who need your mercy the most." The third scene was important in relation to the revelation of Fatima's 3 secrets. Was a vision of hell where the souls of sinners suffer from the fire. The lady saw that the children saw that many souls would go to hell because no one was praying for them. World War I, and if people do not stop offending God, is a prophetic message about the prophecy of another catastrophic war. She predicted the rise of communism in Russia and interpreted as a scene of attempting to assassinate a pope. Many believe that Pope John Paul II refers to the assassination attempt in 1981. Local authorities who were skeptical and worried about a large crowd gathered in Fatima. The show in August did not take place on the 13th as the children were detained. On August 19, however, the lady appeared to the children elsewhere. By this time, news about the scene had spread and thousands of people with children Kova came to Da area. Our Lady encouraged the children to continue their prayers and offerings. The final scene took place in front of about 70,000 people, including journalists and skeptics. The lady introduced herself as Mothers of Our Rosary, repent, and asked the people to pray the rosary and to build a church in her honor at the scene. During this scene, the famous Miracle of the Sun took place. Skeptics were amazed by this phenomenon reported in newspapers around the world. Francisco and Jacinta died of the influenza pandemic of 1918 to 1919, as Our Lady had predicted. Lucia Carmelite became a virgin sister and lived until 2005. Millions of visitors each year, the site of the Fatima philosophy that became the most important place of worship in the world by attracting. The Catholic Church initially approached the events of Fatima after a careful and in-depth investigation, allowing us to have public devotion to Lady Fatima. These events are used as a powerful tool for prayer and intervention in the Catholic tradition. Love illustrates the deep impact of the Rosary on individuals and historical events.
So, browse like an angel to know about amazing universal Christian things. If you have not yet joined, subscribe to our YouTube channel now. Share this video to someone else. Don't forget to share things they don't know. Things you don't know, everything. Another day I will meet you soon in a video that is unique and valuable. Stay tuned until then with your beloved Dutaya production. Today we will go and have a good day.